So I'm going to show you how I make my loaf of bread that I do every week. This is flour. It's actually rice, brown rice that I made into flour because I just refuse to buy brown rice flour when I can make it. So I grinded that up as fine as I can get it to make it really look like flour. Then I use the golden flaxseed meal. I like the organic one because the bread is lighter compared to the premium one. So I put it in my blender as well. A fruit processor probably would be better, but this is what I have. So it's really flaky and it's supposed to be more on the flour side. So that's why I blend it up, because I tried it without blending it and I didn't like how the bread looked. Um, of course, you have my little sous chef, Makai, on the side. He's helping me blend. He has his bowl as well. So I do this about twice to get it as fine as possible. It gets kind of thick once the more and more I blend it, so that's why I'm banging it, trying to get it out. This flax can get, once it gets wet, it's really gelatin like, so I really try and avoid the water till it's time to add it, because one, it's hard to clean up, and two, it's just really sticky. A lot of vegans use it to substitute for eggs, like egg white or when they're baking. So I put it back into a measuring cup just to make sure it's exactly 1 cup. I was told you're actually supposed to use grams when you bake, but this has been working out for me, so I'll just keep it this way. My excess that I have left, I just put it in Makai's bowl so he can have some to stir as well. So that's what I'm doing right there. And so I'm just putting all the dry ingredients in there right now, and making sure my sous chef has what he needs as well. He's also explaining. That's why I'm doing a voiceover, because he's trying to also tell you how to make bread. So the next step is, I think it's pronounced psyllium husk. I have whole psyllium husk. I couldn't find powder, so once again, I just put it in a blender. I make enough to just so I don't have to do it every time. You need 2 tablespoons of it. So after I have made it powder, I just put 2 tablespoons of the psyllium. I believe it's called psyllium husk. And this is really important because too much can make your bread really wet. It's going to be a little bit wet because it's not wheat or flour. So the flaxseed and the psyllium husk, it does have an aftermath of wetness. Then I use baking powder. I have fast acting, double acting, so I use 1.5 teaspoon of that. And then for the salt, I use 1 teaspoon. You can do a half a teaspoon of salt if you like. And then I just start stirring. This is really important. I've messed up a couple times not really stirring and making sure that all the dry ingredients are mixed well. It is really important to do so because your bread can come out looking horrible with a lot of holes. And now you do the wet ingredients. I have organic apple cider. I shake it up just to get the mother and get all the healthy things into my 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. While I'm doing this, I have some water that is heating up, because you need either hot water or boiling water. I normally like to just get it hot, but today it was boiling. I am getting my egg whites, and I used to do 6 egg whites, but now I do 5. Here's the hot water. Makai knows. Only grown-ups is what he's saying in the background. So now I'm just stirring it. As you can see, it's really loose and separated, but I just keep stirring it and stirring it until it becomes doughy. As you can see, Makai has his. I put a yolk in his. And then I just keep stirring it. It gets a little difficult after a while. You'll see that my hands start changing on how I hold the spoon, because it starts to really feel doughy. But in this process, what I'm doing is really like looking for the egg whites and really just trying to stir in the mixture into the egg white until I don't see any more egg whites. And I just keep going. You see it's getting thicker and thicker. I slowed it down just so you can see a little bit of how it's starting to get stickier and thicker and looking more and more about like dough. And this process, it just take your time, be patient. It'll eventually start to get doughy. It's still going to have some wetness to it just because of the flax and the psyllium husk, but eventually you'll start to see it sticking more and more, as you can see from my stirring. I have switched how I stir, and I just start folding it in. It's just easier to get all the egg white that way, just folding it in on each and every side. So I'm just about done with it. I could have kept going a little bit longer to get some of the pockets. That's something I realized too, like folding it in, just trying to get some of the holes and the pockets out, because they definitely will stay when baking. And I'll show you that at the end. I had some couple holes in my bread, but there's times where I don't have any holes because I took my time with this process of just turning it and turning it. So now I have my pan. I think it's a 9x5. I think that's how you say it. Pretty big pan. Well, the biggest I could find anyway. The instructions said oil the pan, so I do, and put some parchment paper. And this is how it looks. See, it's really sticky and doughy. So I just go ahead and drop it in there. And then I just start to shape it. I cut this part out, but I cut the excess parchment paper. Is just, for me, it's just annoying. So after I shape it, I'll cut some of the parchment paper. But this is also important, shaping it, especially on the ends. I noticed when I didn't take my time, and I really didn't take my time this time either, but when I don't take my time, when the ends, they kind of are lower and not as wide as I would like the bread to be. So this is important, just to shape it the way you want it. You can put anything on top or nothing, is your preference. I have everything seasoning that I put on top of the bread just to give it a little bit of flavor. And here you go. So I cooked it for about an hour, put it on the rack to let cool for about 40 minutes. And this just came out the oven, so it's a little higher than what it would be once it cooled off. And this is how it is when it's cooled off. I have this little dent in there, which can happen sometimes, but still, it didn't lower too much after it cooled off. Still a nice size for sandwiches or just toast. We eat a lot of bread, so I actually make 2 loaves a week, which is it's okay. So there you go. And here I have what it looks like after I cut it. I have some holes because, like I said, I didn't take my time with turning it. I should took a little bit more time turning it into itself to get those holes out. This is what it looks like. You can't really tell a difference, but I always toast it because it have a little bit of wetness to it, so I toast it to dry it up a little bit. And I made me a tuna sandwich, and that's what it looks like. Perfect portion size, really good. Hope you enjoy it. Make it yourself.